Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Pull up a seat, there's something unique. You now tuned into something you ain't know that you need. Let's talk about it with Brenda. This high level conversations. Engage the community and change the vibrations. No more casualty, no matter nationalities. Let's have real talks and cut out all the fallacies. It's hard to change the circumstances being negligent. Empowering the people, you could be the president. Let's start programs and reach all the youth. If history been twisted, we should teach all the youth. No more politicking, putting pressure on the politicians. We need legislation that'll change our conditions. Meet me at the round table and let's conversate. Make a plan to action, cause ain't no time to wait. Let's change the fate, cause it ain't no more go along. You can always tune in here to know what's going on. You got something on your heart, let's talk about it. You need to find a place to start, let's talk about it. Community and unity, let's talk about it. You got something on your mind, let's talk about it.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on Let's Talk About It. I am Brenda Coles. I am your host for this new podcast, and I'm excited because I'm celebrating my birthday and we started a new podcast. But I want to talk a little bit about why I decided to start this podcast. We're living in a time right now where, we're in dire straits. And a lot of people always asking me as someone that's been working in civil rights for 40 years, what are we going to do? Well, first of all, we don't have the luxury anymore of standing on the sidelines. So we all have to do something, and we all can do something. So, I get calls, quite often every day. I can't tell you how many number of people I talk to every single day regarding issues within their families or issues of what's going on today, but just prior to issues in that family. And it's getting worse and worse right now because we don't have the civil rights protections that we had before. Unfortunately, they're just not there anymore. We're not going to have those civil rights protections. So we're not going to have those education protections. We're not going to have used to be able to reach out to Office of Civil Rights. We used to be able to reach out to the Department of Justice. We don't have that anymore. Here in this state of Virginia, we have a Republican Attorney General that when he came in office almost 4 years ago, and he is running again this year, he fired everyone in the 38 lawyers that was in the Civil Rights Division. So when we had children in Powhatan that was crying out to the media, to the families, to the school board about the discrimination that they were suffering every single day in the classroom, they had nobody to reach out to on a state level. The governor did not come out on their defense. Attorney General did not come out on the defense that we have right now, and that's running again. But then they wouldn't come out on the defense of someone that did commit a crime that's sitting in the White House. So guess what? We're going to have to understand one thing. Either we're going to have to start standing up or we're going to be still in the same boat. So guess what? I am here and I'm excited about starting this new podcast. And what I hope to do is to bring something to the table every time. I want to enlighten you. I want to teach you how to advocate for yourself. And that is something I want to do. Over my years, I have met some dynamic people. And the people that I've met over the years, some of them are celebrities, but the people, I don't care about that. Okay? We got a lot of people out there with namesake that have done some magnificent things, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's not who I'm looking at. Those are the advocates that actually go out and work in the communities and know our communities, work with our children, and get on the ground, get really on that ground level. I'm talking about people that families can relate to. Our politicians don't know. I'm going to be very clear about that. Our politicians have no idea what is going on the ground. So I'm bringing people to the table that can reach out to that swath, that huge swath of people that feel left out. And so I am excited about this show. It will be a weekly show. On every Sunday, I want you to tune in on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, on every Sunday at 2:00. And I'm going to always have a special guest. So when that special guest, me and that special guest, both of us, we're going to give you some information. We're going to give you some tools. We're going to give you whatever you need to be able to give you some resources, to be able to give you something valuable to help yourself. Why? Because it's going to be someone that has been through your struggle, somebody in your life, your family member, your loved one that's still going through that struggle. That's who's going to be the guest that's going to be on my show. People that really understands the work. People that really have had that struggle and know what it is that we need to do. People that I consider, and I will always consider to be the jewels that is missing in our society, that actually needs to be out there speaking on behalf of the people, not the politicians, but the people that actually have been through the hell and came back and doing fantastic things. And so I just want to thank in my opening piece of Let's Talk About It. I want to thank Brimlow. Brimlow is a local rap artist out of Roanoke, Virginia. I've been knowing Brimlow since he was a little boy. His grandmother and I were best friends. She passed away a year ago last week, tragically. And but Brimlow wrote my opening piece. It is a personal piece written specifically for this show. So I want to thank Brimlow. Y'all got to check him out. Go to Facebook. It's Brimlow. Go to Facebook. Check him out. And this young man is extremely talented. And I gave him the idea. I gave him a poem to use that my son wrote, and he took it and he rolled with it. So that's how talented he is. Not just in music, but in art. So we're going to be talking about different topics on this show, on this podcast show, because we got so much to cover on a local level, on a state level, and on a national level. So as we go along throughout this journey, I certainly hope that you all will continue to tune in, and just know that this is brand new for me because I'm always just on the ground. So, but I'm looking forward to it, and we're gonna do some. I always do some live stuff. But I'm gonna get started. I'm excited about my first guest. You know, I met this brother only about a couple of month or so ago, and he blew me away. He blew me away like, other people that I've met in my journey. But he and I was on a panel together with an organization with Mobile Justice Tour. And as I was listening to Khalid, I was really just truly amazed by this brother, and I wanted to learn more about him. And as I had conversation with him, I knew that he was just truly a special individual. But I want to read his bio, and so you all can have a little sense of what this brother has been through and what he came through. So I'm going to read it before we get started, because I think it is very important for those that I have worked with over my 40 years of working in civil rights and social justice, that families that we are reaching, that swath of people that we are reaching, and that I want to reach, that is hearing our voices, that we understand where you're coming from, that you are not out there alone, but these are people that we are people that are here for you. Please, and oh, first of all, let me say this. I'm from the country. He and I laugh about that a lot, okay? I will chop up your name, okay? So if I chop up your name, don't take offense. Just know, blame it on my head, not my heart. Because I am celebrating my 60 something birthday. So just letting you know up front, but we'll just start with the first one. How about that? A Washington, D.C. native, with a short stays in Maryland, Arlington, and even St. Croix. Life ever changing for Khalid, having gone to 14 different schools by the age of 15. This was due to his dysfunctional family and difficult upbringing. And eventually, Khalid found himself in juvenile detention centers on a couple of occasions, and then he would find himself serving 25 years of life sentence in Virginia prison system. There he would mature and find his purpose in life, which is to help reach the youth and the community, to influence them to do and be better. In prison and beyond, he would be affectionately known as Brother Khalid because of how he treats and helps so many others. He will complete several programs in prison and then facilitate a few of these same programs. Upon leaving prison, Khalid would self-publish his first poetry book entitled I Was Just Thinking. And 2 years later, he would publish his second poetry book, Still Thinking. While being free, Khalid has remained a mentor and motivational speaker, speaking in DC and Chesterfield jails and speaking to youth in juvenile detention centers from Newport News, Virginia, Alexandria, Rappahannock, Prince Williams, Maryland, New Beginnings, and much more. Khalid started his own nonprofit, Lessons Learned, while he is also a member of the nonprofit Catch More Kids, doing the work of helping the youth and communities. Khalid's aim is merely to help where he can. I want to introduce this fabulous individual that I consider to be a jewel for our community and for our kids and our families that are suffering, and that you get out there every day, Khalid. I want to thank you. And so I'm just say thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. It really is. It touches me, and I'm grateful that you started the podcast, because, like you say, we spoke the first time we met, and you have a history, yourself, 40 years plus on the front line, helping our community and more. So to be the first on your podcast, or just on the podcast, period, I'm honored and I'm blessed. And so I thank you again for that.
Oh, absolutely, sweetheart. When I was reading your story, one thing that I would like for you to, let our listeners know, at what age because this is very important. And I say this because as someone with a mental health background, mental health and social work background, and worked in various areas in the mental health and social work field, um, and sort of combining that with my 40 years of working in civil rights and social justice. One thing I find is in every case, and I tell people this all the time when I'm talking to them, and especially when it comes to mental health, it's always going to go back to childhood somehow. So at what age did this all start for you?
Mm. Wow, it's a great question. Honestly, I would probably say around. I mean, it was probably around 13 or 14, and I say that because I can remember life before that, right? But around 13 or 14, I was uh, with my father down St. Croix, the Virgin Islands, and the crack epidemic had just hit, and they had cracked down in St. Croix. This is 1986. They had cracked down at St. Croix, which was a surprise to me. But and we were down there because we had a plot of land down in Calvert County, Maryland, and my father and some friends and what have you, they grew weed on the land, marijuana. And one day, after about a year and a half of living down there, maybe two, the police raided the land. And so, my father's instinct was to get out of Dodge, get out of America. He wasn't sure what the repercussions would be of, him growing all that weed. So I went with him. I didn't want him to be by himself down, the Virgin Islands. We have a large family. In my mind, everybody had somebody up here except him. So I went with him. Um, I saw him, smoking crack down there. It was a beautiful trip, but it was a difficult trip because, like I said, I watched him on many occasions smoking drugs. When we came back up, everybody was on drugs or they were selling it. This was like 87. And I think that when I reflect on my life, a lot of time it was seeing so many people on the drugs. It was seeing how serious that epidemic was. Like that was an epidemic where before it, we would knock on a friend's door and his mother would come to the door. And this is a true story. His mother would come to the door and we'd be like, can such and such come out? She would look at us, look kind of down her nose like, yeah. And she'll shut the door. That same mother 2 years later was on the corner selling herself for drugs, right? Her son had been shot for a neighborhood that ultimately would betray his memory, betray his sacrifice by sleeping with his mother every chance they got if they had the drugs. And so I saw that the dysfunction of my own family, loving them, and I knew love, but it was dysfunctional. Plenty of alcoholism, plenty of crack use, and drug selling. And I think that one of the things that kind of forced me to take to the streets was a dissatisfaction, one being broke. My mother, I stayed with my mother after we came back from St. Croix. My father served, I think, a couple of months in Maryland, and I stayed with my mother up Northwest DC. And it was 4 boys and my mom in a 1-bedroom apartment. And after a while, you get tired of, wondering where the next meal coming from. My father at the time no longer was reliable because he was the primary. He raised us primarily for the most part, and he was a hard worker. But once crack hit and he got on it, then that affected him greatly. And my mother, she was on welfare and she was doing her best according to her understanding. And so eventually I took to the streets. I ripped and ran, got in some trouble, did juvenile time a couple of times, and ultimately, like I say, found myself in adult prison. But yeah, I would say life. I would reflect on things even when I was out there running. I would, lay down at night and be like, I'm gonna stay in school. I'm gonna do good in school. But then in the morning, you go into school, you got to walk through different neighborhoods, and then you got guys you got to fight just because they talking about you got $1. Like, nah, can you stay in the search? Like, what? and I'm not gonna let nobody touch my pocket. My father didn't raise me like that. My family didn't raise me like that. So you get in fights and you realize that the better you fight, the more people respect you. And I did good in school. I actually love school. I love, doing good in school. But the minute school was over, I had to walk through 4 or 5 different neighborhoods. I had to deal with a lot of that. Then I had, we on welfare. Then family was on drugs. So as a kid, you want to do good. But the pull, the tug of trying to find ways, even illegally, to make a few dollars or to become somebody in the neighborhood that people leave alone, that becomes, for many of us, a choice. And so, I chose to become someone that I'm not gonna have anybody bother me. So I became a fighter, etc. And
But but I'm gonna say something. You and I have had some discussions, and even just what you're saying, I think when you say dysfunction, now you and I grew up, and I was saying to you, we grew up in two different types of world, but the dysfunction for Black families, and I'm going to say that specifically because we need to have Black people to understand the dysfunction doesn't matter, because I grew up, as I said to you, I grew up in Bedford, Virginia, country racist town in the 60s. And close family knit, very, very close family knit, 9 other siblings. 3 of my older brothers and sisters was already grown and gone from the house. There was 7 still in the house. And, we didn't even have a bathroom until I was 7 years old. And we was doing better than the other people that was on that road, the other Black families. But we had garden, chickens, pigs. We had, pear trees, peach trees, blackbird patches. That's how, mama cooked. Had a great mother. But on the same token, we was isolated because of the racism. Okay, because it was so racist. KKKs walked down where we was on the road, but KKKs would march anywhere in a minute. You get spit on, you get called the N-word. And so mama, not realizing until I look back on it, why we were so sheltered is because mama had to protect us. So and when I did get out, it was amazing to me because something that we did not see. We didn't see Black people working in a courthouse. That was unheard of. It was unheard of to see a Black police officer in my little hometown. When I moved to a bigger city, I think at that time, when I moved up to Roanoke, Virginia, was probably the first time I saw a Black mayor, and that was and that just truly blew me away. That was just unheard of. So see, and even in my family, got a great family, but if and this is not knocking my family in any way, because mama, we couldn't smoke. Mama didn't even allow cigarettes in the driveway. You better not bring a cigarette in her driveway. There was no smoking. There was no drinking. There was no drugs in our family. There was no going to jail in our family. And my mama was like this: if you go to jail, don't call her. Simple as that. So guess what? It was that strict. And so, but on the same token, there wasn't a lot of communication. There wasn't a lot of communication, and it was in a lot of ways, when I think about it, and as I have thought about it, it was also very isolated, because it was a lot of family. We was able to do a lot, but it was very isolated because of the environment in which we was raised. So Black people was never, we never had that freedom. So I don't want anybody to ever think that, and when I did get out, I used to say this, and because I didn't understand it, when I would see houses real close to each other, because in the country, you know how houses are so spread out. And when I would see houses stacked on top of each other, even when I would go into the bigger cities and see how people were stacked on each other, it drove me nuts. I couldn't see how people lived like that because we had all this land and we had all this space to be able to run and play and all of this. So, and I don't take any of that for granted. But on the same token, when it come to the way that you were raised and feeling that the dysfunctional life that you lived, and then the way that I was raised, I also felt that it was also dysfunctional because I didn't feel as if the communication or being able to, especially in Black families, they just didn't talk. They didn't talk a lot. And so
Right.
that's also very dysfunctional, whether people want to accept that or realize that or not. So you have a lot of kids that grow up, Black kids in particular. See, because when it comes to white kids, oh, it was always okay because they're just kids. It wasn't like that when it came to Black kids. Okay, white kids could commit a crime and that was okay. And it still looked like that. It's still like that today as we speak, but not when it comes to Black kids.
Right.
So, or when it comes to somebody Black that commit a crime, they're gonna get a life in prison. Somebody white that commit a crime or commit a crime that's even worse, they're gonna get a very light sentence. And and this is something that we all better understand and understand. It continues to happen every day. So, when we look at have things changed? For a little while it did, but where is it now? Oh, we've been set back 50, 60 years. And we better understand that. And if anybody think it's still time to stand on the sidelines and do nothing, and that, hey, and somebody else is going to continue to do it for you, then you will get left. You will get left out. So, but and I'm glad that you brought that up because I did want to show that even in what you went through, Khalid, because you ended up going to prison for 25 years of life. Me, on the other hand, even though I've never been in that circumstance that you've been in your life, I have lived my life helping people all my life. That's all I've done. That's all I've wanted to do is help people all of my life. And I know I got it from my mother because my mother was a nurse. And, she had to earn that and work hard to do that. She didn't start off as being a nurse. She started off with working in the hospital and then earned that moving up as time went on. And so, but one thing about my mother, she was well loved in our community. And when my mother fell ill and could no longer work, and it didn't stop her from making sure that people in the community was taken care of. So I know where I get my compassion from is watching my mother, no matter how bad she was, taking care of the folk. And that how that love came back and how that made her feel. And I'm the same way. But and thank you, Khalid. I'm glad because I just wanted to show that it really is not a lot of difference when you are living in families, especially when we are in Black families, and how Black families Have we got to start? It's not that. I think, in my case, somebody may say, well, it don't sound like y'all live bad. No, we didn't. We didn't live bad. I'm not saying that, I wouldn't say that we did, but I am saying that it was still dysfunctional. Still dysfunctional. If you're not communicating, if you don't have any communication, still the same thing. And especially when I hear you say dysfunctional. And so, did you have anything you want to add to that, brother?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that there's various layers of dysfunction, all sorts of dysfunction, and like you say, communication or lack of is definitely an aspect of dysfunction. The separations in our family, that can be natural. The problem with separations, though, without communication, without a good understanding, is you'll have, and I'm just being, general, you'll have a father who might have sons and children, and he may have the ones that he had by another woman, and the divorce he has, with his first wife, he might not be able to, go see his children by her because he may have cheated on her. So she might be angry and upset, bitter. And so he may be struggling to see those children. And so the ones he has, they can't see their siblings. He may mess with another woman who has other children, or they have children together, and they may grow tighter than, the first set. And so that is an aspect of dysfunction. Alcohol is sadly has always been in our community. I live in DC, and I say I paid close attention to this. There are literally liquor stores on almost every single corner. There are sometimes 3 or 4 liquor stores on the same block, right? And so you have people, that has always been a very painful part of our history when it comes to our families. You know what I'm saying? Is alcohol. We struggle with alcohol. We struggle with drugs because we're trying to find a way to numb the reality that we have to wake up to every day. Difficult jobs, difficult pay, again, dysfunction. I know so many families that have family members that don't even talk to each other. I'm talking about within my own family, right? Cousins that I love, and we're not communicating right now. I have cousins that don't even communicate with their own siblings because some say, I don't want to deal with the drama, and I want to stay away from every single thing. And and I try to be understanding to that mindset, but I'm like, pick and choose your moments. If you cut your siblings off completely because 1 or 2 may drink or 1 or 2 may smoke, they don't smoke all day. Pick your time to call them, check on them. Maybe if you do, maybe if you, but then they're like, if I do, I'll get drawn in. So, this is the case with a lot of our people. So when I speak about dysfunction, I've seen all this as a kid. Like I say, a lot of moving around. By the time I was, like I say, 15, I'd been to so many schools. I didn't really, you have a friend for almost a year, and then you got to move. So family is big to me because no matter where we went, my father made sure we were in the midst of family. We would visit family. We would see family. My mother was similar. She didn't drive, but we would go visit family. So it was hard for me to have friends for a long period of time because we always moved. So that was a degree of dysfunction, going to so many different areas, living in so many different spaces. So, like you said earlier about our culture, it's not getting better. I agree with you about standing on the sideline. We as a people have to begin to reflect on, how we want our names to go down in history as individuals. When I was in prison, I got locked up for being a fool. I got locked up for being a young idiot out in the streets, and so I got what I deserved. I believe, I got a life sentence in 10, and I did 25 years of that. But I did not waste my time in prison. I forced myself to grow. The birth of my first niece actually is what prompted me to grow so fast. because I'm a family man, and one, I kicked myself in the butt many a day for not being there for my younger siblings. And so when my first niece was born, I was just angry. I was like, man, I can't even hold her, hug her, whatever. So I just went back, laid down that night, and said, I'm not going to play cards anymore. I'm not going to play tabletops anymore. And I didn't. I never played cards ever again once I saw my first niece, my oldest niece, because I realized that that would get me into a lot of trouble, arguing over cards and, and fighting and what have you. So I forced myself to pick books up. I forced myself to say, how do I want to do my time? And how do I want to come out of here? There's an opportunity for me to get out of here. So I didn't want to do my time like a fool. I didn't want to be locked up and remain a fool. So I forced myself to read, to study, to get in different programs. And so that's what I wanted to come home better, right? I wanted to be the man that I felt like I should have been or could have been had I not got incarcerated and I was raised, in my opinion, right, So I wanted to come home and I wanted to be more articulate with my words. I didn't want to use slang all the time. I wanted to be smarter. I wanted to be hardworking. I wanted to contribute to my community. And so I forced myself to live like that for a large part of my incarceration, right? And so this is, the results of that. So, I just agree, that it's important we as a people really look in the mirror, take a deep look in the mirror, and ask ourselves, where do we want to be? Where do we want to be tomorrow, next year? Not just because of this country thing, but just within our own families, within our own roots. And how do we want to be remembered?
And brother, what you said was so true. You was talking to you about, for those that know my son, Elijah, Coles Brown, and a lot of people, of course, they know Elijah, but they have not met my oldest son, which is Larry. And both of my boys are extremely smart. Both of my boys are very articulate. And I'm not, and I say that. And you and I kind of went back and forth on that. And and you're right about just going back just a minute to bring this back forward. You're right about the dysfunction and our people, because there are levels of that dysfunction. And you're right. You hit it right on the head about when it comes to the family and not speaking, because I've been through that even with my own family, because of the lack of communication or the lack of listening, of understanding of what, I was dealing with within myself and needing my family. And so, and shutting down or not shutting down or raising up and or rising up and because my family, they may not respond to me in the way that I had hoped. And then I had to learn too that it's not their responsibility. Okay, that was not their responsibility to respond to me in the way I expected for them to respond. But it is very difficult. As I shared with you, I was molested as a child at 7 years old, and that was very difficult because it took a long time for me to even realize that, even though I knew something was wrong. And then even after learning it and realizing it as an adult, it was very difficult for my family to accept that, which angered me even more. So that's where I say, yes, we as a Black family, there's so much that when it comes to us, that there are so many layers of dysfunction, and that we have to kind of work through and get through on our own. So when you are a child and you're dealing with when you're dealing with the fact that there's someone that you need to talk to, or you need to confide in, or that you need to be there to listen. Even in my case, as someone that was young, didn't realize what had happened to me as a child. It was dysfunctional for me that I didn't have that. And then and it progressed, doesn't get better when you become an adult. It only gets worse. And so when you become an adult, so I do understand that. And and all I could do was make sure that, and it's like with you, I too wanted to go to a 4-year college. I've been working at the age of 13. My mother instilled extremely strong work ethics in us. My family worked extremely hard for everything they had. I have to be proud of all of my brothers and sisters and their accomplishments. I mean, major accomplishments that they have, and because they worked for it. Nobody gave it to us. We worked hard for it. And I'm proud of that part of it. But yeah, is there other work that families definitely need to do? You're dead gonna skippy. I say that in a heartbeat. When people say, even when it comes to like I say, getting back to my boys had to deal with the fact of things that I was going through with them, and when I had them. Elijah and Junior both, and I call my oldest son Junior. Those boys are the way they are. A lot of people ask me, well, how did he get that way? Well, first of all, I wanted to go to college. I wanted to go to a 4-year college. I did go to college. I went to a 2-year college, but I wanted to go to a 4-year college. I didn't have that support. I wasn't able to do that. I didn't have that support. My mother was absolutely a great person, but going to work and having a job and during that time was more important. And so I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't have that support to be able to do that. So that did not happen out of high school for me. I went back, but I went back, later years, and on my own. But when it came to my boys, one thing I wanted to make sure was that they had an opportunity that I was not able to get. And this is why when my boys was born, my boys did not have toys. They had books and paper. Because people ask me that. How do they get so smart? Because all they had was books and paper. I was reading to them before they was born. I didn't have anything. If I didn't have anything, I laid a blanket on the floor with books, laid them down, and read to them when they was infants. Didn't realize, and was showing them the books, didn't realize that, and because I'm a character, I would make faces and they were laughing, but didn't realize they was also picking up on the words. So they was reading, they could see the words. And so that's why my boys they're even to this day, they're avid readers. They're readers. They're books and paper. Elijah was writing at 3 years old. He wrote a complete sentence at 3 years old. And so he was reading 20 books a day. Both of my boys are both avid readers today. That's all they do is they enjoy reading. And I would never forget when Elijah got his first toy. I think he was maybe 7. And Elijah looked at it and said, put it down, picked up a book. He wasn't interested. And so when a lot of parents, and I've facilitated parenting classes for many years, it's one of the classes or in groups that I did when I was working in social work. And I was talking to families about, just when they were like, well, I can't get them to read. I can't get them to do that. So, and first of all, you have to have, and this is something that I want families to take home. Parents that are listening right now, you have to have a structured home. Your home must be structured. So the first thing I do, and this is something that I tell parents that they have to do. Go to Dollar Tree, get a poster board. You write up there, you sit down with your child. Why? Because you want to make the child a part of the process. You sit down at the table with the child and you write down, you put on that poster board, what is it every single day when that child have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, what time they have to get up, what they have to do once they get up. You write every single thing down. And then you write down what they have to do when they get off from school, what they have to do when they have the snack. Let them be able to decide what kind of snack they will have. Dinner, let them decide on, give them some choices for dinner. And then let me tell you what you'll find real quickly. In a short time, when that's on that wall, what you'll find real quickly in a short time is that child, when parents are saying, didn't I tell you this? Didn't I tell you that? They're going to find real quickly that they're not talking to that child. You know why? Because that child is reading the board. The child already knows what they have to do. So there's not a lot of tension in the house. And a lot of parents don't even realize that's what you can do to make it very, very simple. You can structure your home. Parents that have children that's ADD or ADHD, please stop putting your children on programs that is not suited for ADD children or ADHD children. Children that are ADD and ADHD, they are brilliant kids. Their brain works 10 times faster than the normal child. They are brilliant, brilliant kids. Don't let somebody put them in a special ed class. That's the worst thing you could ever do. They are smart kids. And so, but you have to make sure that those children, when you're going somewhere, and I say this, Khalid, because this is very important when we're talking about our kids, because I know you work so much with children. Our parents used to say, come on, let's go. I don't know if you remember that. And you say, well, where are we going? Just get in the car. No, not with kids. You have to tell them, look, mama, we're going to the store. This is how much money mama got. This is what mama gonna buy. And when we get in the store, I'm not getting you this. You're not getting any toys. And then you have to literally spell it out. Why? Because there is no surprises. It doesn't make them excited or anxious because they know exactly step by step what's going to happen. So that's my little cue for right now for parents that are listening out to what you can do to calm your household down. So I always want to be able to give a little tidbit. That's my tidbit for today. So Khalid, I want you to pick back up because we're going to talk. I got a couple more questions that I definitely want to ask you. But do you have anything to add to what I just said when it comes to our kids?
Sure. I actually agree with you. I don't have any children. I still would love to have one. But I don't have any children, but I do work with a lot of children. I was instrumental in, raising my younger brothers and sisters. My sister, when I was on the street, even though I was gone for a very long time, even roommates. I had roommates that were younger than me, and I would talk to them. I found that in studying again our people, our culture, that you're right. We have an arrogance about us that makes us refuse to explain ourselves, right? So you hear parents say, do as I say, not as I do. No. Can I get no? Why I gotta come in when the lights come on? Because I say it so. And I agree. Explain it. Be like when the lights come on and it's dark outside, I want you to listen. You hear them gunshots? That's danger out there. You hear them dogs barking? It's dangerous out there. Why would you want to be out there late at night if you're not working? So we ask you to come in because it's dark, and sometimes that's when foolishness prowls. Children need that, and I do that. I explain. I talk to my nieces and nephews and I keep them with me as much as I can. I keep my nieces and nephews with me, involved in different things, and their parents. I love my siblings for allowing me to do that because I was gone from their lives for so long. So they allowed me so much room, so much leniency, and so much time with my niece and nephew. But when I say no, like one of my nieces had like a little lipstick on. When I saw it, I said, nope, take it off. So she looked sad and she went and took it off. But when she came back, I said, you know why you don't need that? I said, you're too young. I said, you're beautiful. You don't need anything to add to you. You're beautiful. You're already beautiful. I said, you're cute. I said, but when you add that extra color, when you add that red, and you're this young, grown men out there look at you like you're a young woman. I said, they shouldn't. I said, don't give them that. I said, put a little lip gloss on if you have to. I said, lip balm, whatnot. I said, but don't make your lips all shiny and color. You don't need that. And she was okay with that. She literally was okay with that because I explained it to her. And I think that is very important. You have parents that will look at this, I'm not explaining nothing. And it's like, again, that is the arrogance. That is the arrogance. Why? Why is it so difficult to say why I can't? Because I agree. If I only have a few dollars and the child say, can I get $100 pair of shoes? 100 pair. Oh, $100 pair of shoes. Like, no, I don't have that. The light bill is this, the light bill is that. I remember the Cosby Show. And I remember the episode where Theo thought he was a grown man. And when he left out with the school, Cliff and them rearranged the entire house as if it were the real world. So when he came, his room was empty. And Cliff told him, say, you got to buy everything. So he was like, how do I buy it? Like, got to earn money. So he had to go around different parts of his house and find employment. His sister was making a sandwich, and he thought it was his regular sister, Denise. It was Denise's restaurant. So he eat the sandwich. He said, yeah, that's $5. He's like, hold on, I thought you was Denise. They had Denise's restaurant. I don't know you. So, and it was funny because at the end of it, they engaged him. He even got his friend Cockroach involved. But at the end of the night, his father told him, where you think you know it all, you don't. You don't know what your mother and I have to do. So I think when you speak to children, and I do that when we go in detention centers, myself and a couple of the brothers I deal with, Troy Ketchmore and Prince and Chanel Ketchmore, we're talking to the children, the youth. We explain so much in fine detail. I don't just try to scare them about prison. Oh, you get locked up, you'll get raped. That was and is a reality for some people. I tell them, if you get locked up, you might come home 10 years later and your mom is dead, your grandmother's dead. If you rob and steal somebody's car, that person can't get to work. Imagine someone steal your mother's car on the Sunday morning. She's supposed to come visit you. How you gonna feel about that? How you gonna feel about your mother being robbed? Hit upside the head with a baseball bat, but this is what you're imposing on other people's parents. So we try to break it down so thoroughly that they actually visualize the harm that they're doing, but we want them to visualize the joys that they could be enjoying. But it takes humility. And so we explain ourselves. So what you said to me was right on time and on point. I believe we need to humble ourselves a little bit and talk to our children, not like they friends, not like we owe them in any sort of subservience, but an explanation. You know what I mean? An explanation, an ear, but an explanation, because sometimes they really just don't understand why the no. And the no come out so nasty sometimes, so harsh, that now they really are curious. And parents don't want to say, baby, I'm broke. Baby, I live from check to check. Baby, I got $20 to do something this whole week with. We don't want the children to know that. So we say, no, I don't have it. Go find your daddy, or, the father might get mad. I don't have it. Yeah, get out of my face. You know what I'm saying? You ain't starving. School got lunch, and the boy like that, I just asked for McDonald's. I didn't know I asked for $1 million, but we have to explain to the kids why, because that may fuel them. That may fuel them to work hard, so they can do better.
Well, and I'm gonna tell you something, brother. You exactly right, because I'm gonna tell you, both of my boys, because I have been sick for for a long time, or they've seen me sick. And both my boys, and I've told them both, I need for you all to, when you're in school, work hard. Um, and I will say this, both of them, when they went to school, that's exactly what they did. And they went to college, that's exactly what they did. Elijah is still in college and doing well. And so I will say that because I instilled that in them. But on the same token, I'm not gonna lie, I instilled in both my boys that, when you when you get out here, and as you were saying too, you want to instill in them that you want to be self-sufficient. You want to have your own. And but in mama word would used to be, I don't take care of grown folk. So I told my boys at an early age, I don't take care of grown folk. So I'm gonna give you all the tools you need to, to be self-sufficient. But when you get grown, that's it. And and I would tell them all the stories about we couldn't go back home. It was 10 of us. We couldn't go back home. And then when, mama loved us to death. But, even when we wanted to go visit, we had to call her first. It was too many of us. And so we would go back home, and mama would say, well, so-and-so is coming, you can come, but so-and-so was already going to be here. Because, the house was so big, it was one spare, one guest room. So that's what was the purpose of the call, to make sure that, the guest room wasn't already being taken by one of the other brothers and sisters. And of course, when she fell ill, we alternated, even though we lived in different places. We alternated, and we took care of our mother. And my mother and mother didn't want for nothing. And so, because she was such a good mother. But I tell you, when it does come to our children, and you said something too, brother, that I want you to expand on a little bit, because it brings to my next question regarding you're speaking into when you go into the jails and the prisons and speaking. I want you to talk about a little bit more about that when you're going out and you're speaking to these young brothers, and that are inside, because I have been in the jails and spoke with the women, but mine was on specific going in under Prevent Child Abuse of Virginia and speaking to them regarding their children. These were a program where they wanted to have a relationship with their children. Some of them was going to prison for a very long time. Some of them was coming out, and so I went into the jail and worked with women. But I want to hear your experience being someone that has been in prison, because I've never been in prison, but being someone that spent 25 years in prison, but then going back in and talking to these brothers on the inside.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first, let me say, you and I spoke about this before, which is one of the reasons you said you wanted to have me up here. And those who go unnoticed oftentimes. I found that it has been so difficult to go in a lot of these places. Now, people are going in, right? But I mean, the work, the efforts, the difficulty that it's taken for some of us to get in some of these places. Many of the brothers that are out now in the Virginia area, they know, you know this, many of them, have spoken about me. I've been doing this work in prison for roughly 20 years. I started off like everybody else, wild, fighting, arguing, card tables and all that. But the majority of my time I spent focused. I was born and raised in the Nation of Islam. So even though I was wild on the street or whatever, I still, I gravitated back toward that in the prison system for structure. And so since I have been out, For those that know me, it was no surprise. That was my plan to go out. One of the first things I said I was going to do was go to Alexandria Detention Center because I had been there, a landmark, a few times when I was young. And I did that. A month after I got out, I went straight there. I called them. But I found that in many of these places, they make it so difficult for the sincere among us to go in. That is something today, even today, honestly, I actually have made a few phone calls. And today I went to a group home. It's called the Sasha Bruce House in D.C. I make a lot of these phone calls by myself while I'm at work. I'm a building engineer because I did earn my HVAC certificate in prison. But that's not my passion. So while I'm at work, when I have free time, I'm finding group homes, I'm finding detention centers, I'm finding places that I can go and lend my voice, my story, and other people's story to these young men and women. And so when I do go speak, when we do go speak, myself, whether it's me alone or like say those of us that are part of Catch More Kids, I have a tendency to come from the angle that I come from is an emotional angle. Like I said, I did 25 years, and I'm gonna try to speed through this because I know it's gonna choke me up. But 2 months before I came home, they found my mother dead on a park bench. That bothers me to this day. It hurts me. It puts tears in my eye. And so when I speak to the youngins, I don't tell them about they gonna get raped. I don't talk to them about those things because that's a reality in some prisons. That's a reality in some regions. That wasn't a reality for me. I came in, I'm a fighter, and a lot of guys didn't have that experience because they were fighters. There are a couple of guys I know that had that experience. And my heart goes out to them because they weren't ready for what they faced. They weren't ready for the big, brawly guys with the knives that are 1.5 feet long, running up in their cell, or they wake up with this guy with sinister intentions on his mouth. So I know a couple of guys that went through that. But when I speak to the youth personally, I tell them of the things that I see to this day that I went through. My siblings growing up without me, that's a painful thing because I took being a big brother seriously. I used to do my little brothers in the homework. I love being a big brother. I love, cleaning up the house and having my little siblings helping me clean up. You go clean your room, because it was on my shoulder if they didn't, So I love that. I love taking one of my little brothers that love hanging with me. One of them used to love hanging with his friends. So I was like, I go ahead and I give him a couple hours. The one that used to hang with me, I go place. I'm like, you can't go. He's like, man, please. And I shouldn't have, but I got him in go-go's. 12 years old, he in go-go's, grown go-go's. But I took being a big brother serious. So when I chose the streets, and that's what I tell the youngins on the regular, I ask them, who do you love? And a lot of times they'll say, Mama Dukes and Grandma and their siblings. And I'm like, you love them how? And they'll explain how, that's who take care of me. Mom always there. Mom always there. I'm like, but you aren't there for her. Because I had to understand this. I had to understand what love was, what love is. A lot of people will say, man, I love you. And they will go a whole year without talking to you. They'll say they love you, but won't even consider you when you're going through it, right? So I had to understand what that word means. I had to understand that the word love is actually an action word. A mother says she loves her child, but the child doesn't understand what the mother is saying when the mother's holding her baby saying, I love you. What the baby understands when I'm crying, mama put a breast in my mouth. Mama put a bottle in my mouth. When I'm uncomfortable, mama wipes my behind, or mama covers me and warms me. I understand the actions. So when you pull me away from mom, I'm holding, that's the one that makes my life better. So now that I understand love, I understand that I have to show it. So I can't say I love my community and I'm out there hurting. I can't say I love my people and I'm out here trying to harm them. I can't say I love the youth and I'm not giving them back what I know I owe them. Because again, we left the street. So whereas I had a father, uncles and stuff like that, when I left, who had me for 25 years, who had this brother for 25 years, this brother, we left the streets. We abandoned our job. We abandoned our duty. So we owe, right? And that's one of the things I'm serious about. I sit on the phone and I've literally shed tears calling organizations. I've called organizations just for a job. Like, man, I want to work with y'all. I see y'all doing some good work out here. This is my experience. I want to work with y'all. I don't even get a call back, and I found that going back to dysfunction, you and I talked about that earlier before the podcast, We spoke about the mistrust. You know, we supposed to be out here trying to save the youth. I'm not just talking about returning citizens. I'm talking about our people. Our neighborhoods are being shot up by our own kids, you know? So we don't have block parties no more. I can say, I remember block parties. I remember the people that put the block parties weren't the young people. It was the uncles. It was the uncles that would take the little cones or trash cans and block them off. You didn't need a city permit. You just let everybody on the street know, hey, we're going to have a block party Saturday, block party Saturday. They'll put the cones out in the trash cans and someone will write on a piece of paper, block party. And it was peaceful. You didn't have to worry about other people coming through from other neighborhoods now because you had mom out there, grandma out there, kids out there, jump open and hopscotching and all that. Nowadays, we look outside and we just looking at each other. Look at her head do. Yeah, that's that. She got that new guy. He buying all that stuff. And girl, hi, the dude's the same way. Yeah, who them riding past? Them is the ops and this is that. No, they from, man, and I understand it. I'm not mocking us. I'm not looking down my nose at us because I was a part of that. But this is why I try so hard to give back. So, you know, back to your question, when I talk to the kids about what I see in there, it's loss. I tell them about loss. What I lost my grandfather, I lost my grandmother, I lost my aunt, my mother's sister 5 months before my mother died. I lost my little cousin. I babysitted him a few times, little Mike, you know, he died about a year before I came home. I lost countless cousins and other family members. But since I've been home, I've been a pallbearer 4 times. My grandfather died when I came home. My Uncle Wayne, one of my favorite uncles, died when I came home. I mean, he helped me get a job. And, you know, my cousin Khalid, so many people. And it's like, I lost so much time with my family. And it's like, I'm telling these youngins, man, from the heart, like, look, whoever you say you love, it's not promised that they're going to be here tomorrow. So stop trying to prove that you can fight on the street. Because as nice as you might be with these, as good as you are with that gun, the lion is the king of the jungle, and yet he's in a cage somewhere, right? Crocodiles are big, can break bones with their teeth, and yet they in cages, right? Rhinoceros hurts everything. Rhinoceros, I think, in Africa kills more people per year than any animal, including the black mamba, and yet the rhinoceros is in the Washington Zoo. Why are all these powerful creatures in zoos? Because someone outthought them. So while we worried about how nice our knuckles are, how nice we are, you know, with guns and all that, man, somebody's outthinking us. And that's why so many prisons full of us, so many projects full of us, and so little mansions filled with us. So I tell the youngest that, man, just think. You know, my man Troy Ketchmo, he came up with a program called the Think Tank. And that's one of the things we stress. Think. You know, and I gotta say this, shout out to everybody, you know, out there that's on the front line that's doing this work. I have to say that because there are those who are able to get in some of the places I'm begging to get in. You know, some people are sharing their resources. Many people are not, you know, and that's a problem with us again as a people. We competing with each other when we should be working together to get this thing done. We can save, all of us can save neighborhoods together. Me by myself, I don't think I can save an entire neighborhood. But if I got a squad, man, different organizations, man, we can do this together. But we have to humble ourselves. And so, you know, but that's one of the things I stress with the youth is what you lose when you committing, you know, these crimes.
Yeah, well, brother, let me say this. First of all, I mean, you give me chills. But let me assure you of one thing. Of all my years, I've worked with all the civil rights organizations. I've been a leader in a leadership role in all of them. I have been organizing. I have been and sit on boards of a lot of organizations. And the reason why you don't get called back is because they're not doing the work. They're not doing the work that we are doing. And, you know, this is why, once again, this is why I wanted to start this off with you. And what you just did is you gave so much information out. I talked about to the parents about some things they can do at home with their kids. You just talk to family members about what's going on in the prisons with their youth, with their young people. But the calls that I get and the hours that we are on the phone with parents, and when they're dealing with their young ones or their loved ones that are incarcerated, and what we go through. But see, this is just it. But if you go to the organizations themselves, they don't do our work, unfortunately. They just don't. And so if you're not getting called out, I don't, it depends on, where you're going, but I can assure you the work that my team does, and I have a separate team, that the work that my team does, no, they don't do their work. They're not on the phone with family members for 3 and 4 hours. They're not making phone calls to the jails. They're not pulling up records and going to the courts. And they're not doing all that stuff that we do. They're not traveling and putting out their own dollars. They're not doing that. That's what we do. Okay, they're not doing that. They're not offering any of that. They want to ask you a couple of questions. Oh, well, reach out to your local representative, and then that's it. Or you don't get a call back. That's all you're gonna get. I know that for a fact. I've been with all of them. So, but brother, before I say this, I'm gonna tell you something. We could go on with this because there is so much more that I know for a fact that we need to be talking about. But this is something I want to ask you about, because before we go, I want to talk about lessons learned. And I want you to tell everyone that's listening, your voice today about lessons learned. How did they get started? And how can they help you with lessons learned?
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that. Lessons Learned is the name of my nonprofit, 501c3. I never liked saying that at one time because I just felt like people use that like to make themselves feel like I'm there. I have a mentor and a nonprofit coach. That is actually Chanel Ketchmore. She started Ketchmore Kids 20 years ago. So when I was in prison, when I would speak, I was the coordinator for the Nation of Islam, the minister at Nottoway for like maybe 9 years, 10 years. And I was different. I didn't do it the same way everybody else did, right? I would talk about, my own shortcomings. I would talk about my family and drug use and drug dealing and all that. I would talk about flaws and my mistakes. I would use my lessons and what I learned from them to make me better. To this day, I have so many brothers, almost all of my roommates I'm in touch with. You know what I mean? Like, these are cellmates that we did 1 year, 2 years in prison. We were roommates, and I call them. They call me. I met their families. I have brothers right now that are just, I'm the godfather of one of the brothers in Suffolk. I used to train him in the hands on boxing, but we used to walk and talk, and I would just pour into the brother. And he's out. He's doing great. He has 2 children. He is a rap artist, LV7, Ink God. Check him out. But he's from Suffolk, and his 2 children, my godchildren. So whenever I can get a chance, I go down to Suffolk and I see them, and I love that they my godchildren. And when he called me on FaceTime, his son be in the mirror, in the phone, God, Dad, you got some toys? But what made me start Lessons Learned was my desire to give back. Lessons Learned was a name that just came by from, me thinking, what am I going to be doing when I'm giving back? And it's like teaching lessons that I've learned. I talked to Troy Ketchmore. We was in prison together. He was like, man, my sister, she can help you. So when he came home, she had a class. She taught me the ins and outs of a nonprofit. One of the things she would always say was, come up with your mission statement. And when you come up with that, let that be what makes you go forward, even when you're feeling like you can't. And there have been many days I felt like that because, like I say, it's just me. I'm in D.C. I did 25 years in Virginia. So when I come back home, there are organizations doing what they're doing. So I was invited to a neighborhood by one of the brothers in the Nation of Islam. and I've been going over there for 5 years, roughly, Potomac Gardens. I have a special bond with them kids, man. I mean, some of them don't even live over there. 2 weeks ago, I got a text Sunday morning. A mother said, "Brother Khalid, do you have anybody that has the boxes of food?" She was talking about the food bank, and I don't have the contacts to that. I thought you had to register for it. So I said, "No, I'll look into it." So I called a couple of people. They were like, "Yeah, no, we don't have anything." So I said, "I got you." One of her sons is my little youngin'. I mentor him whenever I can, and his little brother in Potomac Gardens. And when they say they don't have no food, I can't lay down and not provide something. So Monday after work, I went to the Safeway on Alabama Avenue and I bought $170 of food out of my pocket. I took it around. You know what I'm saying? I gave it to the son. He took it. He was like, "Thank you, bro, Khalid. Thank you, bro, Khalid." What hurt is I haven't heard from the mother since. But her sister called, said she needed help. I cashed out her $35 2 days ago. Never heard from her since. I asked her, did she get it? She texted late on that night. No. I screenshotted the exchange, that I sent it. Haven't heard from her. And that's okay, because when I do from the heart. I do for the kids. I can't lay down and think that there's a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 3-month-old in a house for nothing. Even if people say, "Oh, the mother, they got food stamps and they good." I don't know. It got to my ear. So I just might have to be a little smart about how much I spent. I don't know, get the numbers to these food banks, but that's something that I love. You know what I'm saying? I love helping people. I really do. I know what it is to see homeless. I've had family members that are homeless. I have a family member now that's homeless. And so one of the brothers I did time with said, "That's your people?" I said, "Yeah." I showed him a picture. He said, "Man, I gave him $5 last week." I said, "I appreciate that." And so I do what I do because God put it on my heart to do, right? And so when I'm in the detention halls, when I'm in these jails, when I'm in these group homes, I don't care where I'm at, whether it's a college, whether it's a school, my objective is to teach what I've learned through the lessons, hard or otherwise in life, that others have learned as well. And I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm learning more and more. I'm learning how to write letters. Like I say, my coach, my mentor, Chanel, she's taught me a lot, but a lot of it is, once they teach you, you got to go out there. And I can say as a returning citizen, sometimes it's hard, like working with computers. I still have a computer that's over in this corner. I'm using my phone for this. My computer is in a bag because I have to have people teaching me these things upon coming home. And people say, "Go to the library." I've called libraries. I've tried to see if they got these computer free classes and all that. Haven't found them yet, or I missed the session. But all I know is that my heart pumps for the youth. My heart pumps for doing good. I fed the homeless before, and I just want to help. So there have been a few people that have, reached out that have helped. Miss Lily Branch Kennedy, I think 2 years ago, I put on Facebook that I needed a couple of dollars to help me take 20 kids to the zoo. Miss K was the first one that sent, a nice amount. Cheryl Carter was the second. My cousin Rasan was the third. I told the company, I'm good, because I'm not going to be greedy, because what I get going to the kids. There's a couple of people who recognize me as a brother. He has an organization called Ernie's Plate in D.C. Never met him before a month ago, but he always saw my work and was like, "Man, I like it, I like it, I like it." One day he just called and said, "Man, I got a rack of coats and skull caps, man. I want to give them to you so you can get it your youngest." I met him at Iverson Mall. We talked for an hour, filled my van up. I left, went straight to Potomac Gardens, called one of the mothers, Miss Danielle, and said, "Call as many of the mothers as you can." And I'm just passing brand new coats out. These wasn't no cheap coats, and get a thank you from 2 parents said thank you. And I say that, and I say that laughingly, but I'll say this, and this is very important for me. One of the reasons I started to grow was, like I say, I started to look at words and study them. I looked up gratitude and I studied it, not as a word, not as a thank you, response, but as a concept. Like love, gratitude is actually action. Mama, I appreciate you, mama. Not sitting on that couch eating all the food, not working, you don't. You understand?
Right.
Gratitude is, "Mama, I appreciate you." I know you do, baby, because you get up every day and you help mom out, you help daddy out, you do your best. So I had to learn what gratitude was when my family would let me call, and I would always say, I appreciate you. They'd be like, oh, ain't no thing, baby. Keep call whenever you want to call. My grandma, appreciate you, granddaddy. He never hung the phone. And so I had to understand, how can I prove to them that my words aren't hollow? So I love to help the youth. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to acquire more clothes, food. So if anybody can help, man, I know you'll ask that question, but if anybody wants to help me, trust me, I'm not stealing a dollar. I took the coats. I got about 20 hats. I took 40 hats down Newport News, Virginia. I gave a couple of brand new coats to some of the youngins down there. I took some of the hats and took them into one of the brothers that we deal with, Polecat, his barbershop. I put a whole bunch of hats on the countertop, and a couple of parents that was walking out, here you go, brand new skull cap, right? Wherever I go, I'm going to give whatever I have to these kids that need it, So, that's one of my aims, is to just be in a better position, right, this year and on to do. So I'm learning how to write the letters to Burlington and to these different companies. Like I say, I've had a couple of grants written for me, so I'm waiting to see if those are going to pan out, putting prayers on those. But I just want to be helpful. Like I can't stress that enough. People that know me know I don't need glitz and glamour. I don't need a lot of lights. You know what I'm saying? I got brothers that, and sisters that know me, and they'll say that, man, you deserve this, or you deserve that, or I love what you do, and I appreciate them for that. But if I can have anything magnified, then it would be my love for the community, so that I can do more and also be an example for those who may feel like, what can I do? Man, give back. Give back. Why not? Why not? We took everything from the community, give back to the community, so, yeah.
But brother, I'm gonna tell you, you brought up Lily Branch Kennedy, and of course I'm gonna have Lily Branch on, on one of the shows, and you're talking about a sister that's gonna be able to give the information, and people are gonna understand that fishback bill. There are so many brothers that that are out, returning citizens, because of Lily Branch Kennedy writing 2 bills, and that fishback bill have released so many brothers out of prison on her bills. And Lily Branch, we are so grateful and thankful for somebody like Lily Branch. This is why, once again, this is why this podcast was so needed, because there are so many people, so many advocates that you don't hear about that are doing great things. People have probably never heard of Lily Branch Kennedy, but they would not imagine, they could not even begin to imagine what this woman has done for so many. When you think about it, and when you think about the numbers of family members that she have affected in such a positive way, with her bills that she wrote and gotten passed. And so, I can't wait to have her on. She will be on my show. I cannot wait. I actually sat on the board of RIHD. For disclosure, I am a board member of her organization. So I am looking so forward to having her on. Just proud to always be in the presence of people like Lily Branch, and of course, like yourself, brother. Before we end out, and I end, tell us, just if anybody wanted to reach out and to you directly, how is the best way to be able to reach out to you?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm on Facebook, and my name is, Khalid Karim, Khalid, Karim, Karim. I'm on Instagram, Khalid Karim 75, and also Lessons Learned 75. You can reach me through those ways. Like I say, you know, every gift is not monetary. Every blessing is not monetary. If you have books, you know, especially, you know, if you have books, if you have art supplies, I use arts and crafts a lot of time when I go, excuse me, when I go Potomac Gardens with the youth. And I'm talking about from the ages of 6 all the way up to 17. Like arts and crafts allows us to express ourselves, right? And the art is indeed in the eye of the beholder. The beauty is. So if there's anything, I don't care if it's clothes, whatever it may be, it's going to get to the youth. You know, I shout people out all the time. And like you know, like you said about prison, Miss K, a quick sidebar. She was definitely instrumental because I was in there, and she and RIHB would send us these pamphlets. And when I say we passed those things around because they were nuggets, man, they were jewels. Because you get an envelope and you see Miss K, and we open it up and be like, okay, Keefe being sued, y'all over there in Tennessee. The precedent is such and such and such and such. Man, write that down. The whole head, like, write it down. We're gonna put a lawsuit together on Keefe, you know, and she always kept us informed through her pamphlets. You know, so when I met her, I hugged her, and you know, we gave her an award, Black Connections. We gave her an award. Then I meant to do my homework because she was the forefront, but she had a whole crew with her. But she, you know, all of them got a chance to speak and share their piece. But we were honored to give her an award, you know, for her work, and I was blessed to be a part of that. And so, like you say, I want to shout out to everybody. I didn't get out on the fishback, but I did get out with the help of many family members who wrote. I got to shout out Paul Taylor. He actually was instrumental in making some phone calls, you know what I'm saying, on my behalf, and a lot of my own family and friends, because I didn't even ask family and friends to write letters for me up until the last year or two before my release, because I didn't want to burden nobody. Like the parole interviewer said that one day, he said, you don't have any letters, any letters you want us to have? So I was like, I don't like to burden my family. I put myself ahead. He said, yeah, well, I hear you. I respect that. He said, but you know, sometimes those letters hold a little weight, but I'm just saying. And that was it. And when he said that, I thought about it and I threw it out there to a couple of people, and they went around and they definitely got my family and some people involved in writing letters for me. So I thank them. My brother Roy, my brother Troy, man, so many people, Chanel. I won't waste the time, you know what I'm saying, thanking people. Brother Willie, that was my man. I did a lot, like I said, I did a lot of time, 25 years, and I came across so many people who throughout the time meant something. And many brothers I'm still in touch with now, many, you know, sisters I'm in touch with now, and I'm grateful, even out here doing this work with the youth. I'm grateful for those who have, that's why, you know, I shout out Catch More Kids the way I do, because when Troy came home, he told his sister, you know, bring Khalid aboard, you know, this is what he does. And I love them for that, because they've allowed me to do what I love to do, and you know, and ask nothing of me but, hey, do what you love to do. Come here and speak to the youth, and I love it. So I'm grateful eternally for that, and I love what everybody who's involved in community activities are doing, because I see death every day. I see 2 nights ago in DC there was two police shootings right on Georgia Avenue, back to back, the very street that I actually drive through to come back home or go to work in the morning, of Georgia Avenue and Upshur and all that. One of them was captured on TV, and I sit back in my chair and it hurts, you know. So when I see us doing this work, I'm grateful. And anybody that wants to reach out to me, that, you know, wants to hear my story or send me to a school or a group home, call me, let me know, want to work with me. I don't mind doing the work. I don't have to talk. I set chairs and tables up. If you're working with the youth and the community, please let me know. I have car, will travel. You know what I mean? I just want to be a part of helping us rebuild our broken community. That man, one of the people I love the most is Harriet Tubman. I write poetry. I got a poem book. I would have to dig it up. But I got a poem called Harriet Tubman. I got one called The Elders. I got one called Foreign. I love us as a community. I love us as a people. And, you know, I just want to help. I just want to help.
Well, brother, I'm gonna tell you, this is not gonna be your first time on. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. I'm bringing you back. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. So, but what in saying that, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna. And I do want to say this to all of our viewers. I want to thank everybody, brother. Once again, you coming back, Khalid, you ain't got to worry about that. I'm definitely gonna bring you back because you got too much to add. And this is why it's very important. When I say we got those jewels out here, you are our jewel. We got so many of you all out here. And then and I don't forget, and I know, and like I say, and I want you back. I'm definitely gonna have you back on. But what I want to also say to all of our listeners, we got a lot of work to do. I want to encourage those before I end tonight. I want to encourage you to join SiriusXM. You can get it for it's a hard time, but you can get SiriusXM for as low as, I think I get it for $6.99. Listen to Urban View. Listen to Larry Favors in the mornings. Listen to Clay Kane. Listen to Karen Hunter. This is Black radio. This is what we need to be listening to. These are the people that are really giving us a lot of the information in which we need to be getting right now. And so please, if you can, I love Larry Favors. I love Clay Kane, and I absolutely adore Karen Hunter because I know Karen Hunter, and I absolutely adore her. And I don't be honest with you. A lot of people that's on SiriusXM, they're on SiriusXM because of Karen Hunter, and the work Karen Hunter does. Karen Hunter is truly one of our greatest people that I think most people don't even know. You need to look her up if you never heard of her before. She is in New York, but please consider subscribing to SiriusXM. Urban View is on 126, so please consider that so we can get started with some real work. There are organizations that I'll talk about that I do believe that we need to get involved with. As we go along, we are in an election season here, specifically here in Virginia. That's going to be very important. And we're going to talk about that as we move along. But for now, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Please, I am going to be here every Sunday, 2:00. And we are going to have a different guest. And I'm going to be bringing back Khalid. I definitely got to have him back on. But we're going to have different guests on each week. Definitely want you to come. We're going to bring you something. And I hope you be able to take something today. We gave you information. I gave you information. Khalid gave you information. Families, trust me, the ones that call me every day and that we're talking to and we're on the phone with for hours, we gave you a lot of information today. So you need to spread this information. Don't just hold it to yourselves. This is where the unity is gone. In the community is gone. Nobody is trusting anybody. And I can understand it right now. I'm having a hard time myself, but we got to get back where we're going to have to understand that we still need to have the knowledge. We got to have the knowledge. We got to learn to advocate for ourselves. I can't tell you how many people call me up and say, what do I do? I've never been in this situation before. I'm not a lawyer. Neither have I. Pick up a book. That's what I have to do for you. I have to read a book in order to help you walk through what you're going through. Pick up the book. You can't read. I understand. So I'm going to help you through that. but at least try. You got a phone. I'm going to start teaching those that have a phone, because everybody got one. I'm going to teach you how to look up your own cases on your phone. You can find yourself, your family members. We're going to go through all of that on Let's Talk About It with Brenda Coles. Thank you. And you all have a blessed day. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you on the next show. Now, I will do my advertisement, but I'm not going to tell you who's going to be on my next show. You just have to watch and see. Thank you for joining me on Let's Talk About It with Brenda Coles. Good night.